The River State Governor's hammer has fallen on 3 local government caretaker committee chairmen in the state as they've been sacked for allegedly collecting illegal fees from companies. The affected caretaker committee chairmen are those of Port Harcourt City, Obiakpo and Ikwere councils. A statement from the state government explains that the sack of the 3 council heads takes immediate effect. Let's quickly move on to sports news now with Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Gimba. Nigeria's Falconets have taken a big step to qualifying for the Under-20 Women's World Cup after beating South Africa 2-0 in the first leg of their final qualification round in Polokwane. FC Robo forward Rashidat Ajibade gave Nigeria the lead on 30 minutes. Amam Imo then made it 2-0, that's 5 minutes later, and that was how the match ended after a goalless second half. Nigeria will look to seal qualification for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in France when they host South Africa in the return leg. To men's football now, Catalan giants FC Barcelona have unveiled Colombian centre-back Yerry Mina, who joins the La Liga leaders from Brazilian side Palmeiras. The 23-year-old was officially presented at the Camp Nou in front of Barca fans today. Mina signed a 5-year deal worth 11.8 million euros with the club. He is set to fill the void led by Javier Mascherano, who is on the verge of a 10 million euro switch to China's Hebei Fortune. In the English Premier League, 10-man Leicester City produced an outstanding display to earn a point against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge as both sides settled for a goalless draw. Bakary Sakho's goal gave Crystal Palace a 1-0 victory over Burnley at Selhurst Park, while Newcastle and Swansea played out a 1-1 draw at St James's Park. Elsewhere, Abdoulaye Doucouré bundled home a controversial 90th-minute equaliser. His Watford fought back from 2-0 down to earn a 2-2 draw with Southampton. Alan Pardee's West Brom ended the 20-match winless streak with a 2-0 win over Brighton. Johnny Evans and Craig Dawson were both on the scoresheet. And in the last game of the day, Harry Kane scored a brace as Tottenham Hotspur beat Everton 4-0 at Wembley. Well, Angelique Kerber has continued her return to form by clinching the Sydney International title with a straight-set win over Ashley Barty. Kerber, who starts next week's Australian Open as the 21st seed, prevailed 6-4, 6-4 for her first title since the 2016 US Open. The win continues her fine start to 2018, having won 8 straight matches, including the Hopman Cup and Sydney victories against Venus Williams and Dominika Cibulkova.
Game, center match, Kerber. 2 sets to love. 6-4, 6-4.
Champion, let's give it up.
And that's a wrap on sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Gimba will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
The African Union has asked US President Donald Trump to apologize after he reportedly used a derogatory term to describe African countries. The African Union mission in Washington, D.C. expressed its shock, dismay and outrage, saying that the Trump administration does not understand Africans. In a statement, the AU says, quote, "While expressing our shock, dismay and outrage, the African Union strongly believes that there is a huge misunderstanding of the African continent and its people by the current administration. There is a serious need for dialogue between the U.S. administration and the African countries," end of quote. The U.S. leader made the alleged remarks in a Thursday meeting on immigration, but Mr. Trump has denied using the language reported. In the meantime, Iran has condemned US President Donald Trump's latest decision on the 2015 nuclear deal. The imposition of sanctions on the country's head of judiciary, Ayatollah Sadiq, including 14 individuals and entities. This comes as Trump insists that he would extend sanctions relief over the landmark deals one last time.
Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says the U.S. has crossed a red line by imposing sanctions on the head of its judiciary, Ayatollah Sadiq Amoli Larijani, and 14 Iranians and entities. He describes President Trump's latest decision on the nuclear agreement as a desperate attempt to undermine a solid deal. On Friday, President Trump promised to waive nuclear sanctions against Iran for the last time to give Washington and its European allies a chance to fix the terrible flaws of the 2015 nuclear agreement. The deal was brokered by 6 world powers: China, Russia, Britain, France, Germany and the United States in 2015. The West had promised to relieve sanctions on Tehran in exchange for a halt in its efforts to develop nuclear weapons. President Trump, a critic of the accord, both as a presidential candidate and since taking office, has privately and publicly complained at having to once again waive sanctions on a country he sees as a rising threat in the Middle East.
The only reason why the Trump administration is still in the Iran nuclear deal, is still a part of the Iran nuclear deal, is because the entire rest of the world, except for Israel and Saudi Arabia, have told the Trump administration, if you leave the deal, you will be isolated. So what they're trying to do is figure out a way to stay in the deal long enough while making sure that Iran does not get the economic benefits.
Calling it one of the worst deals the United States has ever made, President Trump, who has signed the waiver twice since taking office, decertified Iran's compliance with the nuclear agreement pact last October. Iran has vowed to retaliate, and it says it will not accept any amendments in the agreement, be it now or in the future.
And the main news again, leader of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaki, today ended the rumor of his death as he made first public appearance in about 2 years. He also thanked Nigerians for their prayers. Also today, one person was killed in a communal clash in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, as the controversy over the alleged camping of killer herdsmen in Tunga, Nasarawa State rages on. And Iran today vowed to retaliate fresh U.S. sanctions on the head of its judiciary. And that's how it's been on the News at 10 tonight. I want to thank you so much indeed for watching. On behalf of everyone here, have a splendid night, friends. Good night.